away for a round of golf, enjoy a little bit of recreation, some green grass and blue sky, and a little self-inflicted pain on the golf course. There was one day when I was involved in a game of golf that will be always in my mind vividly. I had just arrived at the golf course, ready for a wonderful day, when I got a kind of a cryptic phone call from my daughter-in-law, Kelly, telling me something had happened to Mom, my wife, Patricia. I wasn't sure what she was saying, and I think she was kind of holding back, and maybe she didn't have full information. But it was very serious sounding, like you need to go to the hospital. And I spun on my heels, got back in my car, started going toward the hospital. I was doing everything I could to get all the information I could get. I couldn't figure out what was happening. Finally got to the hospital, and I found out the car had flipped. It rolled and then ended up upside down in an 8-foot cement concrete ditch. And Patricia's head and neck had been crushed. She fractured C2 and an explosion fracture in C3, which is above the respiration line. Quadriplegic, and that's the end. And her breathing should have been cut off if the spinal cord was affected. She was lying there in a bunch of lead weights so that her head wouldn't move, her neck wouldn't move, and they were trying to figure out what to do with her. She was still alive, she was incoherent, and I just prayed for her and asked the Lord to be gracious to me and to spare her if that was His will and His purpose. And in that moment, you either know God is in charge of everything or you don't. And if you don't think God is in charge of everything and you don't know why this happened and this isn't fair and this isn't right and who did this, did the devil do this, is this just sort of freewheeling life without any purpose, you're going to struggle to make sense out of it. But the Bible teaches that He's in control of everything, and for His own children it all happens for good. And the Apostle Paul said, embrace your suffering, embrace the pain, because in it you're perfected, in it you're matured. In it, you learn to pray more intensely and you draw near to the Lord. In it, you're going to find grace poured into your life. Through that, the Lord was gracious and spared Patricia. She was temporarily paralyzed because of nerve damage, not spinal cord damage, and the nerve grew back. They said she was going to need extensive surgery through the front of her neck to put that neck back together. She didn't. The bones fused on their own and never touched the spinal cord, and to this day she has no residual effect. She had some contusions and things like that. They put her in a halo, and my job was to take her home and clean the little screws that were screwed into her skull in that halo for months and months. And through all of that, though, our joy was in the confidence that no matter what happens, whether I live unto the Lord, whether I die unto the Lord. So whether I live or die, I'm the Lord's, and God's purposes are perfect, and His will is for our good and His glory. And when you view those things like that, you find the grace of God sufficient enough to take you through those things. We learn more through the suffering than we ever learn through the blessings of life.